Mike Bagley, set it up for us. We're coming to the American Ethanol green flag.
Lights are off atop the pace truck. You got Kyle Larson restarting on the outside of Jimmy Johnson. Behind them, Logano to the inside of Harvick. Behind them, McMurray to the inside of Kenseth. Then you got A.J. Allmendinger going to restart to the inside of Michael McDowell. They're in 4.
Kyle Busch restarts in the 13th position. A long way to go and not very long to get there. Up front, it's Kyle Larson and Jimmy Johnson as the American Ethanol green flag waves again. Going into overtime at Homestead Miami Speedway. On the break, Jimmy with a nose out front in turn 1.
Jimmy Johnson trying to run to the inside of Kyle Larson, but Larson has it wound up in the outside lane. Off turn 2, Jimmy cannot clear him. Johnson slides under and he takes the lead.
New leader, Jimmy Johnson, off the end of the back straightaway. He'll pull away by a car length, but here comes Larson around the outside.
It is the Credit One Bank. 1 to go. The white flag is out here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Jimmy Johnson trying to make history and win the championship for the 7th time. He's in turn number 1.
Johnson rockets to the bottom of the racetrack. Kyle Larson trying to rally speed in the outside lane, but it's not there. Off turn number 2, it's Jimmy Johnson with the lead.
Here they come off the end of the back straightaway for the final time here in Homestead. It's Jimmy Johnson with the lead and a walk-off for the ages as he hits the main straightaway.
They've been fighting adversity all weekend long. They've come through every one of the problems, and they come home victorious. Jimmy Johnson wins at Homestead and scores a history-making 7th championship, tying the late Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty. Amazing the way this thing turned out. Jimmy Johnson does it again. Let's go to pit road.
Absolute disbelief. There are fans behind the team. There are people everywhere here. Rick Hendrick on top of the pit box. Jeff Gordon up on top of the pit box here. They are celebrating. The crew is out on pit road. Absolutely amazing. Chad Knaus, I believe Chad Knaus is absolutely speechless right now as he stands down here, and he's going to have a word with his driver. Jeff Gordon in hugging on Chad Knaus now. Rick Hendrick down here in victory lane. It's 7 championships for Jeff Gordon, or for Jimmy Johnson. Rick Hendrick in high-fiving. That's high 10 right there. That's high 10 in there for Chad Knaus and Rick Hendrick. I mean, it is absolute mayhem down here on top of the Jimmy Johnson pit box. They are going to the championship celebration here. Linda Hendrick getting a hug, getting a kiss from Chad Knaus. Absolutely amazing. They absolutely performed flawlessly. That driver got up on the wheel at the end and was able to score the victory. They're celebrating down here on the Lowe's team pit box.
Absolutely, they should. The fireworks now going off behind the back straightaway. Jimmy Johnson now joins Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Richard Petty as the only drivers in the history of this sport to win a championship for the 7th time. Career win number 80, and I think a lot of people here are stunned with the fact that when it counted the most, Jimmy Johnson was out front. Kyle Larson second, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, and Jamie McMurray top 5, then Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, A.J. Allmendinger, Denny Hamlin, and Michael McDowell. That is your top 10. The celebration begins. Jimmy Johnson doing burnouts in front of this sold-out crowd here at the Homestead Miami Speedway. We're going to hear from Jimmy Johnson. That will be a celebration for the ages as we head downstairs. Everybody coming in right now, down there covering it for the Motor Racing Network, and we'll get to him in just a moment. Alex Hayden and Steve Post. Joe, Rusty Wallace. Rusty, let's start with you. How do you sum up what we just saw here tonight?
It was an unbelievable comeback for that team. They looked like they were out of it many times. They had a lot of problems throughout the week. They made some mistakes on pit stops. They recovered from everything. And when it was all said and done, they put themselves right where they needed to be. They stayed out of the big wreck with Carl Edwards and Joey Logano, put them right up front. And then you just do what Jimmy Johnson does best, and that's just drive the wheels off it for 3 or 4 laps. And he did that, and he's a 7-time champion now.
Burning donuts here at the start-finish line. The team coming out to congratulate Jimmy on the win. I think they're in shock as well because for all the problems of this weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway, they've won the race and won a 7th championship in NASCAR.
Now pass the line, 4 back. You are looking at 7-time champion, Sprint NASCAR champion, Jimmy Johnson. Oh my God! No way! No way! Yes! Yes! Oh my God, we did
41-year-old Jimmy Johnson from El Cajon, California, wins his 7th championship, tying Richard Petty and the late Dale Earnhardt for the most all-time here at Homestead Miami Speedway at the end of the Ford EcoBoost 400 and Ford Championship weekend. And what a race it was. Lots of guys had decisive roles in this race. Let's head down to pit road now, where Steve Post is standing by with Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch down here now, just holding court, talking to a throng of reporters here as he assesses his night and assesses his run. Kyle, came up a little short on the championship. What an up-and-down night. Kind of describe what you went through here this evening at Homestead.
Yeah, it was a really rough night for us at the beginning, and didn't seem like it was going our way. And then all of a sudden it looked like we had it in the bag, and it was ours to win or ours to lose. And, we just didn't quite get a great restart there on 2 restarts to go. And Logano shot through the middle, got me really tight and loose down into turn 1. But, we just kept trying to fight through there and fight through that and what happened. And with coming back down there at the end and taking 4 tires, it just got us way too far behind in traffic, and we just couldn't make up from that deficit. So this M&M's team, though, they did a great job all year long. And, here this weekend we fought hard a little bit with an ill-handling car, but we made the most of it, and just not enough.
Not enough tonight, but that's Kyle Busch down here celebrating a great season, but unfortunately coming up short on the championship. Alex Hayden.
Joey Logano having a word with his crew chief, Todd Gordon, leaning up against the right side of this beautiful Shell Pennzoil Ford that came up just a little bit short, a 4th place finish in tonight's race. And, well, Joey, describe the way this one entered for you, specifically the contact and racing hard on the restart with Carl Edwards.
Yeah, it was eventful, to say the least. I hate being that close to a championship and not getting it, but team did a great job all day. We had a good race car, and we put ourselves in position to win. No one made any mistakes or anything like that on our pit crew, and just that last restart, I was hoping to get Jimmy there and try to get either the inside or the outside of him, and I just timed it a little bit wrong to get underneath him. I hit him right at the start finish line. I didn't have enough time to get underneath him, so lost some time there, and unfortunately that's where we're going to finish as second. So the championships mean so much, and everyone forgets about second place. That's the part that stinks a little bit right now, but overall I'm proud of this team, and it's motivation for next year because this hurts.
That's Joey Logano, Todd Gordon, his crew chief. 4th place tonight, 2nd in the championship. One driver is saying farewell, and he's with Steve Post.
Yeah, Tony Stewart down here, and it is an absolute scene of reporters down here talking with Tony Stewart as he kind of debriefs your final race in the Sprint Cup Series here, as Tony just kind of talked. I know, I'm quiet. I'm respecting all my fellow reporters. You know how I am. I've got a quiet voice, Tony. Your night tonight.
It wasn't exactly the way we wanted it to go, but, especially right there at the end, the lineup was all screwed up. So, glad that hasn't changed. But, came through. The car didn't have a scratch on it. So it's this car is going to Columbus, Indiana with the rest of my collection, and I'm proud of it. So I'm proud of these guys. Yeah, that's the way we like to hear it. It's about time a NASCAR official got mad about something. So, but no, it was fun. I mean, it's like I say, it wasn't exactly the way we wanted the day to go, but the race was fun. I mean, there was never a lap that everybody wasn't sideways at some point of the racetrack, and it made it for a fun day.
The ceremony at the beginning, the celebration at the end, coming down pit road. What did that mean to you to just see your peers out there and getting high fives?
That was probably the best part of the day, to be honest. It shows you what people think about you, and that's I've always joked around in the garage area with crew guys, owners, drivers, crew chiefs, you name it, officials, it doesn't matter, and to see that many guys want to be out there for us, that meant a lot.
It did mean a lot. Tony Stewart rides off into the Sprint Cup Series sunset, but maybe some sprint car racing going down the road.
All right, Steve, fireworks going off high over Homestead Miami Speedway right now in celebration of this end-of-season victory for Jimmy Johnson. Let's go back to pit road and Alex Hayden.
Actually, Kyle Larson's a great finish tonight. Kim Kuhn standing alongside Kyle Larson.
That's right, Kyle Larson, 2nd place finish, but you led the way for the majority of the race. Describe that last restart. Walk us through it.
Well, I'm the leader, and it's hard to maintain everybody's gap to your inside and behind you. They're all trying to get their best advantage on me, and I feel like I did everything right. I just can't help when he's behind me when we enter the zone. So, he was able to roll more mile per hour through the zone and just gain that momentum on me and carry down the front stretch. So feel like I got one stolen from me, but congrats to Jimmy, their whole entire team, Chevrolet on another championship. That's really cool. Jimmy could win his 7th championship, and hopefully his 8th isn't too far away.
Appreciate the time. That's Kyle Larson finishing 2nd here at Homestead Miami. We're going to swing it over to Alex Hayden.
With Jeff Gordon, who was on top of the pit box with Jimmy Johnson. Jeff Gordon saying farewell in his own right after coming back in a fill-in role for Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Jeff celebrating again with Jimmy Johnson and Hendrick Motorsports, another championship. Your thoughts on this great team effort tonight?
Well, this was certainly a different perspective on it, to be on that box with Rick and Chad and all the guys on that 48 team, Robert Niblock from Lowe's. I mean, obviously you never give up until that checkered flag waves. And, there were moments throughout the weekend where it felt like Jimmy and the 48 team were the best ones out there. And then there were times where it looked like, we were going to have to settle for less than the championship. But yet those guys never stopped fighting and giving up. The best pit stops came at the right time. The calls that Chad made came at the right time, and Jimmy had the most incredible restarts and moves there at the end when it counted most. And that's why those guys are 7-time champions, and they proved it again tonight.
Way back when, what did you see in Jimmy Johnson to go to Mr. Hendrick and say, this is a guy we need wearing the H on his hat?
Well, I saw him doing a lot with a lot less equipment than some of his competitors. I thought, wow, if we could give him the kind of equipment I've been driving, just imagine what he can do. Of course, none of us expected it to turn out quite the way that it has, but I couldn't be more proud of this entire team. I mean, that's it. It's a complete group that has made these 7 championships happen. 12 for Rick Hendrick. A lot of hard work from a lot of people behind the scenes, and they have worked extremely hard this year to really get this team and this organization in championship form. And I'll tell you, 6 months ago, I don't know if we saw this happening, but in the last couple months, it became realistic. And you got to give Jimmy and Chad, all those guys on that team, and everybody at Hendrick the credit. And Rick Hendrick, he really put a lot of effort into trying to rally these guys, and boy, did it pay off.
Congratulations on another championship with Hendrick Motorsports.
Thank you very much.
Jeff Gordon, everybody.
Here you go, Jeff Gordon finishing up talking about Jimmy Johnson winning his championship, the 7th that ties him all-time with Richard Petty and the late Dale Earnhardt. Second fewest starts for a driver to reach 7 championships. Dale Earnhardt did it in 478 tries. Richard Petty, 806 tries. And the last championship for Jimmy before this was 2013. He is now pulled down pit road, and he is climbing out of the car in Gatorade Victory Lane. So let's go down there now with Winston Kelly.
Jimmy Johnson positioning his car. He is not climbing out yet, just fired it back up, put the steering wheel back on. He is getting ready to climb out of the car here in just a moment. Richard Childress has come in to congratulate him. Of course, Richard Childress, the car owner of 6 of Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s championships, as he is getting ready to climb out of the car. He's going to get a Gatorade bath, I am absolutely sure, when he gets ready to climb out of the car. The folks from NASCAR are here. So here in just a moment, we're waiting on Jimmy Johnson, who is sitting in the 48 Chevrolet. Again, Richard Petty in 1979 scored his 7th NASCAR, what was then Winston Cup championship. It was 1994 that Dale Earnhardt Sr. did it. And now in 2016, it is Jimmy Johnson, who is a 7-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion. Rick Hendrick coming in here, giving him a big hug. Rick Hendrick hired this man back in 2001, put him in the car in 2002, and now is congratulating him. You know they mean so much to each other. Rick Hendrick going into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2017. Of course, Jimmy Johnson will be going in when he is eligible. Jimmy, we talked before the race, and you said you weren't sure how to put the significance of this in perspective. Now that you have done it, there's only 3 of you. Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, Jimmy Johnson. Your immediate thoughts?
I am just floored that we're here. I mean, I thought it wasn't going to be our night tonight. The way things were going,
But man, you can't quit. This team never quits, and to fight through all those restarts at the end and get the lead and win this race, it means the world to me to tie Earnhardt and Petty. These guys are legends of our sport, grew our sport and made it what it is today. For guys like myself to come along and compete, I am so thankful for their legacy, for their families, their dedication to the sport, and the opportunities it's provided me and my family. And to join those guys, man, I just hope I can carry the banner, carry the torch as they have. This is just absolutely incredible.
I'm sure you can carry the torch. Take us through the night, all the problems that you guys had from starting at the rear of the pack. When did you find out about that? And take us through to that first caution flag.
Yeah, there were so many twists and turns through the night. When I got to the car after the ride around the track in the pickup truck, they were pushing my car away, so that was a bit stressful. And then to start tail end and to drive up into the top 10 in short order, I knew we had a good car, but we just kind of ran fifth all night. We couldn't get any further than that, and these cautions at the end really gave us the opportunity we needed, and I was able to get the lead on that last restart and get a little distance between me and the 22.
Take us through where the accident happened between Joey Logano and Carl Edwards. Where were you then? What did you see happen, and how did you weave your way through?
I was busy defending a run the two-car had on me. Guys are laying back pretty far trying to get a big run. And the two is to my inside. I pulled down to block him, and when I looked up, I saw the guys wrecking in front of me. So I assumed the same thing was going on up there. I fortunately reacted quick enough and got to the right of those guys and didn't get collected in it. But it was pretty crazy there in that second last restart.
And the last restart, take us through it.
I got a good jump, and I was just hopeful the 42 wouldn't sit on my quarter panel through 1 and 2. And I heard clear, and I was completely floored because he had been the dominant car all night long. And I saw the 42 maybe fourth off the corner and just knew I needed a couple good sets of turns and not make any mistakes, and I'd be in good shape.
Young man, you have tied history. Enjoy it. Thanks for everything. 7-time champion, Jimmie Johnson. What does that feel like?
It's incredible. I can't lie. This is incredible. Thank you.
Jimmie Johnson has tied two of the immortals in our sport as his father Gary comes in and gives him a hug. Casey Mears comes over here to congratulate him. 7-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, Jimmie Johnson.
And our congratulations to Jimmie Johnson as the celebration continues down in Gatorade Victory Lane. Gatorade is the official sports fuel of Gatorade Victory Lane. Back to pit road and Steve Post.
Rick Hendrick down here celebrating with everybody. It is an absolute mob. Mr. Hendrick, what's your emotion? What's your thought right now?
It's just, I can't hardly talk. I mean, it's unreal. That race, we weren't that good early on and got it better, and then all through all those cautions and all the mayhem at the end, and there we were. And you know, it's I hate those restarts until the night. You know, I love them now.
Jimmie Johnson, Chad Knaus, the combination, the team. Seems like when the car struggles, Jimmie steps up. When it's just, what about that team that you put together with these guys?
You know, it's phenomenal. If you go back and look at the success they've had through all the changes in the formats of the racing and the championships they've won through every one of the different changes, and to win 7 in this kind of competition, it's unbelievable, man. Hats off to them. And you know, when the going gets tough, they dig deeper, and I'm so proud of these guys.
I can imagine. They're going to celebrate down here. All of his drivers have come in. Congratulate him. Rick Hendrick down here. So we've heard from Jimmie Johnson. We've heard from Rick Hendrick. Winston Kelly, I believe, is with crew chief Chad Knaus.
It was a roller coaster ride all weekend long. Chad Knaus, 7 Sprint Cup Series championships for you and Jimmie Johnson. And you're only one shy of the great Dale Inman. Your thoughts after the 7 championship?
I'm pretty speechless right now. It's been an awesome journey. It's been a very trying season, obviously. We've had a lot of good things. We've had some difficulty along the way, but, you know, to be able to be where we're at here today with Lowe's, one team, one driver, one crew chief, one sponsor, and be able to win all 7 championships like that, I think is just awesome. So I can't thank everybody at Hendrick Motorsports and Chevrolet enough, all of our other corporate partners, and the guys and gals at HMS. They've worked so hard and buckled down so much midway through the season to be able to give us race cars like we needed to have to be able to compete, and it definitely showed. We got 3 wins in the second half of the season. That's awesome.
There's very few times you get to witness history. Chad Knaus is a part of history as a 7-time championship crew chief.
There you go, Chad Knaus, the crew chief. And Rick Hendrick, by the way, 12 championships. You heard Jeff Gordon mention that a little bit earlier. 7 for Jimmy Johnson, 4 for Jeff Gordon, and 1 for Terry Labonte. Well, guys, let's go back upstairs now and talk with Joe Moore, Jeff Striegel, and Rusty Wallace after this wild finish. And I'm adjusting my notes, crossing out 06 time and changing it to 07 time now, but it sure is pretty cool to have a front row seat for a part of history.
Yeah, well, you know, Woody, this entire weekend started off, we had a practice session on Friday, and then pole qualifying Friday afternoon, and the 48 team had problems. We came back on Saturday. They had problems. They hit debris on the racetrack and did some damage to the car. And then, before the race started today, they had to go to the rear because it was a body modification issue that NASCAR found. And they came back from each one of those issues and still came home and won the race and won the championship. And, you know, with 15 laps to go, 10 laps to go, yeah. I don't think anybody gave up the chance of coming anywhere close to it.
You know, we talk about a race season as being a story, and you just never close the book until you've read the final chapter. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Not that we didn't expect Jimmy Johnson to win, because we certainly did, but not the way that Joe Moore just described it, Rusty Wallace. They were the 4th best car of those 4, at least through about, maybe a lap 200 or thereabouts. And then things started to go their way. And when they went their way, you've got one choice, and that is seize the opportunity. And that is what Jimmy Johnson and that team did tonight.
Yeah, they took the opportunity. But one thing we need to understand, too, they never got out front throughout the entire race. They did get out front the last 2 laps in that clean air, and I was looking at the lap times, and this guy was screaming around the racetrack these last 2 laps. So we never got to see him the entire race to really see how fast that number 48 car was, because he was kind of mired in the back. You heard what he said. He got up to 5th place, kind of got stuck there. But once he got in that clean air, he was gone. So he's deserving of it. 7 championships, absolutely unbelievable. And I agree with you guys. I didn't see this coming because he struggled a lot this week through practice and qualifying and stuff like that.
But it really shouldn't be that surprising, Woody Kane. This team bouncing back from adversity. They've done that time and time again. It's a hallmark of this organization, and it's what has taken them now to 7 series championships.
Fantastic performance. Jimmy Johnson has climbed up on the Sprint Cup stage now, getting the trophy, hoisting it above his head. His wife Chandra is there, daughters Lydia and Genevieve there as well. We've still got more to come here on our post-race show, including a look at those standings, the way they finally wound up after the season finale here at Homestead, Miami, and a full field rundown. Stay with us.